Getting divorced over Yu-Gi-Oh! By most critical. I'm curious what happened here.
A few nights ago on stream, I watched a little bit of a video called I Got Divorced Over Yu-Gi-Oh! And I went into it, you know, like lollipop and spinny hat, thinking it was going to be like good, silly fun. Like I thought it was like an exaggeratory title where he was telling a story about how his wife walked
The fact that he starts like this, that's a weird stop.
in like...
The fact that he starts like this is gonna be genuine. Bro got divorced over Yu-Gi-Oh! What happened?
Seto Kaiba and ripped his blue eyes, and then he said, "Enough is enough. We'll play a shadow game to decide the fate of our marriage," and then they divorced or something. But the reality is, it's a very honest and open look at an unhealthy relationship, and it's one that I went back and finished the video for and have been thinking about since. So in a nutshell, this guy had a YouTube channel that was dedicated to Yu-Gi-Oh! And he was actually paying his bills through the content he was making. So it's not like this was a hobby that was destructive to him. You know, he wasn't going out on the streets and selling his butt for Yu-Gi-Oh! Briefcases of cards. Like, he was...
I see Dark Souls over here, by the way. This was just a guy with, like, who turned his hobby into a job. What happened here?
Making a living through Yu-Gi-Oh! And his YouTube channel, but his wife didn't really like it. She didn't have any...
Would Dilo get divorced over Pokemon? No. First of all, I'm never gonna marry. Second of all, no. No, that would not happen. Family is always first. Always.
Any respect for it, and it basically boiled down to he married like his #1 hater. And she eventually wore him down enough to the point where he did abandon the hobby and his YouTube channel because she just thought it was kind of cringe, I guess. Like, I'm not saying in every healthy relationship your partner has to, you know, get into whatever hobby you're into, but
I'm not saying that shouldn't be, right, the thing, right? Like, if I had a partner, she doesn't need to get into like content creation or like into the same games. You should be accepting of it though. I remember there was like a Reddit post of a woman asking for help after absolutely losing it that her husband is into Lego and stuff. Which, by the way, if I like that is cool. I wouldn't mind that if a girl was into Lego. Build your Lego sets, sweetie. I don't care. And then he completely flipped the switch and started behaving differently and more cold towards her. Like removed all the Lego stuff. Don't strike out. Lash out to man's hobby. Probably just remove the Pokeball type throwing mechanics. Yeah, they removed it. At least if they removed it, that means they don't have to shut down the game, which is good. That is good. I hope so. But of course, it sucks that like things like video game mechanics are being patented out here. Dylan deserves a VTuber GF. I don't need a girlfriend anymore or a wife. I have made a promise, and I'm intending. No, not just intending, I'm gonna keep that promise. My bad, dear. But that won't happen.
But at the very least, the bare minimum is being understanding and supportive of it. Like, I'm not saying she had to go out there and get a tier 0 deck or learn how to pendulum summon so she could start banishing assholes to the Shadow Realm.
Or take, like, half an hour to finish a turn, or like an hour to finish a turn on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
But maybe don't be constantly spitting and shitting on your husband for something that he's clearly passionate about and something that is actively making him money. I got divorced over Yu-Gi-Oh!
I need to say this. Let me just say it straight out the way. I am no longer married, and I'm divorced.
More time for Yu-Gi-Oh! You can grind. YCS pretty soon, I think. Can't remember when the next YCS is. But you got so much time now.
When I met this woman and I told her about my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, she hated it. She didn't like it. She said that, hey, you can do something better with your life. You should go back to school.
All right, I hate that.
That is, I hate this. Maybe, the divorce wasn't such a bad thing, because if your partner hates your hobby, it's probably not your partner. Not somebody you should be with. Of course, there's hobbies where it's like, okay, bro, maybe not. But I think, like, she already knew what she was getting into when she married him. Also, that poster is incredibly based. You can't keep your promise if you can't play Roblox. What does that one thing have to do with the other? I made a promise and I have to keep it. I cannot break this one.
Man, just let someone have hobbies. Like, who cares? It's not hurting anyone. Not hurting you. It's nerdy. Sure. Who cares? It's a hobby. I bet she had stupid hobbies too. Everyone does.
I said, you know what? Maybe she's right. And you know what I did? I sold all my equipment. I sold my YouTube channel.
Whoa.
I sold all my camera stuff. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. Maybe it's time for me to do something better with my life. Not knowing that at that time, what I had was very special. At that time, something that I chose to do, YouTube, I gave it up because someone said, hey, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. You got to do something better with your life.
There are times where someone's hobby is detrimental to them, whether it's financially draining or mentally draining. Like, that is a problem, and that's where you'd come in and say, like, hey, maybe it's time we look for something else, try a different path, and move on to something else. But that's not the case here. This guy had a channel, and his YouTube and Yu-Gi-Oh hobby were helping sustain him and pay bills. So her coming in there, fee-fi-fo-fumming around, marching up to him, saying, like, you gotta move on, makes no fucking sense. Like, that's so stupid. Just basically saying it's time to grow up. You know, this is a children's card game. We don't do this as adults. It's time.
Average behavior of people like that. This is for children. You shouldn't do that. I hate this. I really do.
You be a real man, a real adult, and start doing crypto scams. Like, it's just silly.
And she's no longer here. And this problem persists. She told me at that time, hey, you want to meet my mother? You need a car. Because I didn't have a car at the time. I was doing YouTube. I was working from home. I didn't need to drive anywhere.
Chasing the dream.
Yes, YouTube is what I did for a living. It's how I paid my bills. And I was street performing also. How did I street perform? I just catch the bus 20 minutes down the street, played my horn, went home. I never needed a car. Even though I explained to her, this is what I chose to do.
Why?
I don't know. Why did you listen to her, man? Why did you listen to her? Also, like, if you don't need a car, you just don't need a car. Like, what is the point of me having a car that I have to pay for, that I have to pay insurance for, gas for, if I use the car like once a month? Like, that, there is no point in having a car if you, like, don't need it. If it's just additional, like, expenses.
Why did she even come into your life then? It sounds like she didn't respect your hobby, she didn't respect your drive, your passion, or anything. Why the fuck was she even here?
She did not respect him. Either.
Just to completely change you? That's sad. And there's definitely a limit too. Like, if you're obsessed with a hobby and it's actually a detriment on your life, which it doesn't sound like it was for him, then I can understand someone coming in and be like, all right, look, maybe we need to reevaluate this. You know, maybe, you know, collecting fucking, I don't know, jelly beans and putting all your money into antique jelly beans is, you know, taking its toll. Maybe we should look at other things so you can get out of the house. You can start, you know, finding something else. I get it. But it doesn't sound like it was to that point here. This is just sad. I imagine the channel was generating income. He just said he was paying his bills through YouTube and street performing. So he was making money. He was perfectly sustaining himself. At least that's the impression I get. She was probably embarrassed to tell her friends what he does for a living. Well, then don't be with him. If you're embarrassed of your significant other, why are you with them in the first place? That's on you. If you don't respect them, don't be with them. It's bad for both you and the partner. I feel like this probably happens a lot, although I've only seen it happen to one of my friends once, where he got with a girl that just really didn't like anything about him. Well,
I mostly just saw this through tweets, clip videos, and like even Reddit posts and stuff. I haven't seen this in real life yet. I've yet to see that. Where a woman comes in, or a man comes into somebody's life and they just like don't like anything about them and want to change them. So odd.
you know, like, what are you doing there? Why are you choosing to be with this person if the goal is to change everything about them, to turn them into a blank canvas for you to paint on? That this doesn't make sense. Find someone that's more compatible with the things you like at that point. Like in this case, she comes in and she just doesn't like any of it. You're going to flush Yu-Gi-Oh down the shitter. You're going to go back to school. Honestly, it sounds like a mom that's trying to like discipline their kid. Like, all right, no more Xbox. We're unplugging the Xbox and you're going to go to school twice as much now. Somehow we're going to find extra school for you to go to. It's just so fucking toxic. This guy was doing just fine. He was providing for himself through his passion, through his ambition, his hobbies, but it didn't fit what she thought was acceptable. So she goes in there and tries to force him to do all of it, and unfortunately succeeds where he does abandon his hobbies and his passion for her.
I imagine what kind of depression that must have caused. Jesus being thanks. I wonder, like, bro could have. When I dropped out of high school for the first time, and the only time, and went to an apprenticeship, I felt horrible. I felt terrible. Like, this genuinely sucked. To the point where I said, okay, stop the apprenticeship, I need to get back into high school, I need to do this. I really need to do this. I need to finish this. I need to finish what I started. Man.
For this relationship. And that just shouldn't have been a sacrifice that he was forced to make for the sake of the relationship. He didn't need to tribute summon his hobby in order to get his wife's appreciation for what she believes is an acceptable idea for an adult hobby. It was making money, it was paying his bills, and it's something he loved doing.
I mean, it wasn't even a hobby. It wasn't even a hobby at this point. It was his job. She got him fired.
Why change that? There's really no good argument I can think of for it. Sounds like she just hated Yu-Gi-Oh! She must have been more of a Digimon gal.
So, she hated
But, I mean, there are Digimon cards. Maybe she was more of a Pokemon girl? Perhaps. You know, maybe. Who knows?
those cards. She literally cried because of those cards. And people say, hey, priorities, man. It's your wife, or, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
You tell me your wife was crying about Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah, I would have aired her. Like, this guy, obviously, I wouldn't be able to... I would probably find somebody anyway. I would have found somebody anyways that would have been okay with what I'm doing here. But he should have aired her the moment that he realized that she is not okay with this hobby.
But then I'll be back at that point where I'm giving up things that I like, things that's a part of my life, for someone else to feel happy. and I feel miserable in the process. I love that. I miss that. Why can't she come along with my journey instead of scrutinizing me? And then that's money gone from me. It's not about the money, but that was money gone from me.
That was his career. Man, what a disaster. What a shame. Imagine your Yu-Gi-Oh passion being so epic it makes your wife cry. My husband has mastered the shadow games. Damn! Fuck! I'd want nothing more.
My husband is his own boss. Shit, that sucks. Now I cannot control him. Man, that sucks for him. That sucks. I hope his channel gets the ultimate revive off of this one.
More than my partner loving their job, man. I'd cry tears of joy. I imagine that's how it works in most healthy relationships, brother. I feel like it's kind of important to have, like, respect. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's kind of basic. He triggered her trap card of divorce. Now, another thing I was thinking.
No, she triggered the trap card of divorce. Like if I had somebody, I would say that if she comes to me like she wants to try like new thing, new job, new whatever, I don't know, wants to start, I don't know, a fucking restaurant, whatever, do it. Go ahead, do it. I don't care, do it. I'm gonna support that, do it. That's my view on it. Of course, there's things where it's like, okay, maybe not, because it's probably like a little too dangerous to do financially, but sometimes, yeah, you gotta do.
About when I went back and watched the whole video is that there is a time where a hobby becomes too consuming, where it starts straining the relationship. Like, maybe he was always fiddling around with those Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you know, by candlelight in like a dark room, and, you know, scratching at his neck for more Yu-Gi-Oh cards and ignoring his wife and letting the relationship start to crumble around him because it's always Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. But
Deluxe imaginary wife. Okay, Deluxe, time for OnlyFans. Obviously, that would not something like obviously something rational, right? Obviously, but aside from that, the good thing is I won't ever need to worry about stuff like that ever again.
I don't think that was the case here. And you'll see why I think that in a moment, the more he explains about how it got to that point. And it's not all about Yu-Gi-Oh! He does talk about how a big part of his life has always been music and street performing, and even that wasn't acceptable to her or her parents, really.
I met the parents. They asked me, hey, what do you do for a living? I had to tell them I am a musician. I couldn't tell them I was a street musician. I am a musician. Then they said, hey, do you have a degree? I said, I don't have a degree. My ex-wife parents did not speak to me for 2 years and told her not to marry me because I don't have a degree.
That's fucking brutal, and to me, it blows my little noodle because
When it comes to looking for a partner, there comes a moment in a person's life where you have to tell your parents to fuck off. That's just how it is. That is just how it is. They can't always control, like if somebody is good to you and they're a good person, you should choose that person. And that person should stop, like, I don't know, listening to her stupid parents. She doesn't like anything about him. Why are you with him? For his looks. It can't be money because she made him stop the thing that makes him money. Or was it control? It could be control. It could also be like status, right? He didn't have the status that she wanted him to have. That could also be the case. Like, man, this is sad.
This guy was doing so fine on his own. He was paying all of his bills. He was living just fine with the money he was making through Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube content and street performing music. And he'll talk about it in a moment, he was making enough money where he could provide for both himself and his wife through those passions.
So she could have been a stay-at-home wife, even. Whatever she was smoking, I wanted too, because that shit must be good.
Yet, they wanted him to just burn it all to the ground, fucking salt the earth, so he could restart with what they think is acceptable, which was going back to school to get a degree and getting a 9-to-5 job. Both things that he did do. Well, he got the 9-to-5 job and attempted school, but school wasn't working out super well for him. But he did everything for that relationship to try and make her happy and be like an acceptable partner in his ex-wife's parents' eyes.
So I give up this YouTube thing. I give up my entrepreneurial thing. I try to do something that's not innately a part of my strengths at all, because I'm thinking I'm in love to do something for somebody, to prove something. So when we got married and we moved out to Baltimore to somewhere else that I didn't want to be, she said, hey, how come you're not paying the bills? And I was like, what? I have a job. I have a 9-to-5 job. I don't make enough from this 9-to-5 job to pay all these bills. Before then, I could street performing in YouTube. I made enough money off of that to pay the bills. Now I'm working 9-to-5.
I can't. I can't. I can't. Bro, you married a dumbass. You married a dumbass. There is no way. First, so she doesn't want him to do what he loves to make money. Then he does follow her lead, gets the 9-to-5, then she complains that the money is not enough. What does this woman want exactly? What does she want? Wait, Penguin has a claw machine in his room. Yes! Really cool, actually. This is so stupid. You married a dumbass.
All day long, and that's not a complaint, because there are people who do that. But I had something that most people wish they had.
He's right. He had the dream job. He literally had
Yeah.
wet.
If I could do this for a living, I'll be real, I'd drop out of college immediately, because college would then be a waste of time. Obviously I can, but still. He was living the dream. That is insane. And she made him give up that.
Dream most people wish they had, which is their hobby, their passion, being able to sustain them. So they don't have to do something that makes them miserable just to survive. And he says, like, he gave all of that up for her and this relationship, and that new shiny 9-to-5 that he got, all to please his wife, because she believed that that was the only real way to grow up and, you know, move on from Yu-Gi-Oh! And street performing music. Well, that 9-to-5 couldn't pay the bills for both.
That means that street performing also paid pretty solidly. It must have. Interesting. At least considerable enough that he needed to continue to do this. Interesting. That's why I'm scared of marriage and even relationship. Thankfully enough, I don't have to focus on that any longer. I have escaped that. Just marry a nerd. True, just marry a nerd. They will understand.
Both of them. And that's the unfortunate reality of where America is right now. I've talked about this a lot. The normal salary you make at like a 9-to-5, you can't fucking live off of that in like a 2-person household. That just, it's impossible. Things are way too expensive, especially in certain locations. It's just not happening. It's an absolute shame. It's a fucking crime. I'm not going to just rant about that. I've done that plenty on stream. He had a job that could do that. Like, he had a job people kill over. and she just didn't like it, found it cringe, I guess, wasn't proud of his hobby and that job that was making him money. So forced is the wrong word, because he mentions as well, he made the choice. He ultimately chose to get rid of all of that for her, but she was pushing him to do it, and now he's miserable with this 9 to 5, and she's not happy because that 9 to 5 isn't able to pay all of the bills.
She says, hey, you need to find a hobby. I'm like, oh.
There is no way. There is no... There is no way. There is absolutely no fucking way. Nah. Nah. Bro had a hobby and it was paying the bills too.
Let me play Yu-Gi-Oh again. So, last December, last year, I start my channel up again. I buy my channel back from Java. Like, oh, she gave me the okay to go into a hobby. You know what she said? You're spending too much time playing those cards. She says, why are you into those cards so much? I said, hey, I need to make a video about something.
After selling everything and starting over, he does eventually get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! To a certain extent, where he picks up the hobby again, but his wife still just hates that the hobby he picked up was Yu-Gi-Oh! And YouTube. So he goes on to say how she just really didn't like it. That's when he gets into saying how she would like actually cry over Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's where I was saying, like, if it was completely consuming his whole life, where he was ignoring her and everything in the relationship was starting to just dwindle because he was too preoccupied with Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'd understand it. But from what I'm seeing and like going back to his channel, it doesn't seem like that was really the case. He was talking about how since he'd been away from the game for an extended period of time, he needed to relearn it. He needed to catch up on all the new things with Yu-Gi-Oh! So he could make content around it. So he'd be able to be knowledgeable on it, which is perfectly understandable, I'd say. And it doesn't seem like he took it to an excessive degree. It's his passion, it's his hobby, it's what he wanted to do, and it's what he was doing, so he wanted to get back to it. He recognized just how much of a gift being able to...
Well, depends, right? If he got obsessive over it after dropping out, because he wanted to fix his situation, I guess, then I would still find it okay that he got, like, spent extensive amount of time relearning it again. I don't see the issue. That's her fault. She made him do it.
To do that and make money off of it was, and he wanted that back. So he was getting back into the hobby. She still really hated it. One thing led to another, and now they're no longer together. And it seems like the big reason is because of Yu-Gi-Oh! The deeper issue is that she had absolutely no respect for his passion, and she wasn't supportive and seemed like was embarrassed of him. So it's two people that should have...
This woman is a demon, never happy and never always bitter. True, true. I don't know. These people should have never gotten together in the first place. Should have found himself a Yu-Gi-Oh! Girlfriend.
Have never been together in the first place.
Ha!
He gave up everything he loved to try and make her happy, but she was never really happy with the man that he actually is. So it's just very incompatible, and they tried to make it work, and it didn't work. And both people, I think, were not happy as a result of the relationship. Hopefully going forward, they both find better partners. Hopefully this guy's starting over on...
Nah, I'll be more crude. Hopefully she finds no partner ever. Ends up as a 60 or 70-year-old single cat lady. I don't care.
His YouTube channel. Luckily he was able to buy it back. Hopefully he is able to find that success that he once had. And yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about it because I just found it to be one of the more honest videos I've seen on the platform about a subject like this. So yeah, that's really about it.
That was a fun video. That was a good video. Good that I found out about that. Because IRL, I've never seen that situation. I've ever only read about it or seen things. Thankfully, I do not have to worry about situations like these ever again. Ain't that fun?